Hey there, fans. Welcome. It is your host, Stuffy, exotic, Stuffy erotic, Reverend Paul S. Stuffy Esquire, and we're bringing you another top five favorite TV characters from me and the crew. So we've got some fan feedback that we need to move it along a little faster. So I'm going to go right into my wristwatch check. Of course, it's the honeymoon phase. I'm still wearing the Yema. So, got the M on, and I'm going to go right into my first choice. My first choice, let me duck down. That's right, Perfect Strangers, Belky Bartakamos. What a weird character. Cousin Larry was great too, but I mean, come on. Belky Bartakamos, great character. That's going to be in my number 5 position. Let's go to RCW.
All right. Yeah, as you see behind me, I got a little Married with Children. I'm a product of the 80s and 90s, which I got most of my programs are coming from. But I got Al Bundy behind me. Who doesn't know Al Bundy, the famous pose, living his glory days through high school? That's my number 5 pick, Married with Children, Al Bundy.
It's a great pick. I mean, I wish I could have had that on mine. I don't know if you guys could see, but I am going with none other than the skinny guinea himself, Christopher Moltisanti, the biggest screw-up in mob history. And, oh, God, anybody who watched The Sopranos, which is a great show, I don't care what scene it was. If Christopher was in it, the scene was funny.
Yo, Jay Goebbels. I think the greatest line in history of TV shows is Christopher saying, "Is that him with the sombrero on?"
Is that him with the sombrero?
That's
great. I mean, what a great character. All right, fellas, let's turn it back over to Dan for his number 4 pick.
Yeah, before I jump into my number 4 pick, I'm just going to do some real quick comments. Love Married with Children. Never understood why Al didn't want to sleep with his wife, man. Katie Seagal, a.k.a. Peg Bundy, absolutely awesome. I don't understand it. And, yes, Sopranos, another great pick. But I'm reaching deep. Let me duck down. We got Sammy Mayday Malone. Sam Malone from Cheers. This show was the first show I remember watching that my parents would let me watch. I loved it. There were so many great characters that came out of Cheers, but I was always a fan. He's a ladies' man. He's an ex-ball player, recovering alcoholic that owns a bar. I mean, who couldn't create magic with that combination? So that is my number 4, Sammy Mayday Malone.
Well, yep, Stuffy, I'm with you. He was up there. Sam's probably in my top 10, and I always got sad when Cheers came on because it was almost my bedtime in the 80s, like when it was over. I think it came on about 8:30 or so. But
dude, I totally remember that.
I grew up watching reruns at my grandparents' house because both my parents worked, and I got hooked with none other than Adam West, Batman. You know, the season was the show was only on for 2 seasons. And Adam West is iconically known for Batman. He was on South Park for 14 seasons. But I still feel people would always just recognize Adam West as Batman. And being a Batman lover, I love the 1966 George Barris Batmobile. I love the comics. And the goofiness of that show from the 60s. It was really groundbreaking, too, with the type of adult sense of humor it had, which I didn't understand until I got older. But Adam West. My number 4.
Oh, great pick. And for those of you YouTubers that don't know RCW, he's based his life on Batman, so that is no surprise. Paul, great pick with Cheers. I don't know if you guys know, but The Wire is one of my favorite shows, and I had to go with Detective James McNulty. Always up to no good. Played by his own rules, and he was just one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, another great pick. We actually collaborated this time instead of just going random. So we basically did a draft, and McNulty was on my list, but John got to him first. So, yeah, The Wire is probably the best police drama, crime drama, and McNulty's one of the best characters. So, great pick. And then, yeah, RCW, besides the Rock Room, he has a Batman room, combo Rock Room. So, yeah, no surprise with Adam West. And let's jump into my number 3. We've got Templeton Peck, baby. Face Man 18. Another ladies' man, sharp dresser. I mean, when they made a movie of the A-Team, they had to get Bradley Cooper to play this man. And still, I think the original was best. A-Team, Templeton Peck. Again, I grew up on reruns, too, like RCW. You know, I'm watching old Dukes of Hazzard, old A-Team, Dallas, everything my older brothers and sisters were watching, and I got hooked on the A-Team.
I always known him as Face.
Yeah, his real name's Templeton Peck. Or the character name is Templeton Peck, but yeah, he's Face.
Well, I got my dog barking back here because
Hey.
people are walking. Hey, Face, what kind of watch did Face have in the 80s? We need to look that up.
Yeah, we got to research that. This is actually like an old GQ or something in my background, so maybe the article will say what he's wearing. I'll research it.
I would think like the president, but with that look right there, the president Rolex right there would fit Face. But anyways, yep, reruns again. Growing up at my grandparents' house with both parents working, Barney Fife. Also, I have modeled my job after Barney Fife, and I've been called Barney Fife a couple times at my job, and I've never taken it as a insult.
Why would you?
But yeah, it's Barney, you know. So, yep, Andy Griffith's show, Barney Fife, one of my favorites, iconic character of the time, still funny. You know, if you watch that now, still things are relevant with it, and it's, you know, it's still funny.
Oh, great pick, RCW. And Andy Griffith's show definitely reminded me of my childhood for sure. Let me ask you something, though. You carry more than one bullet, right?
Well, you know, I've had some incidences where they've, you know, said I probably shouldn't, and I kind of agree with them. So,
All right. With my number 3, I am going with none other than Saul Goodman. I mean, not only has been great on one show, but you got 2 shows. So, I mean, I'm sure everybody knows who he is. Just a great talker, funny, kind of a schmuck, but the best lawyer, and I'd hire him.
I was gonna say he's probably the number 1 schmuck on TV.
Oh, for sure.
He's up there.
He's up there, but he's great.
Yeah, 2 more great picks, guys. Again, because of the draft system, I lost out. I definitely would have had Mr. Odenkirk here, a.k.a. Sal Goodman, on my list. I mean, Breaking Bad was awesome. And you know when a show is good, when they can successfully spin off another show, Better Call Saul, and they have commercial success. So I'm now going with my number 2. Let me duck down. We got Mickey Donovan from Ray Donovan. Now, Ray Donovan would have been a great character too, but, man, Mickey just had some old-school style. Look at that leather, members-only jacket, the gold chain, the Boston accent. Not to mention John Voight is a legendary film actor, now television actor. I mean, just great. You know, I'm driving around in John Voight's car. Okay, take it away, RCW.
Yeah. I mean, we're really picking our favorite characters as schmucks. I mean, every single one. I got one of the other biggest schmucks, probably the number 1 biggest schmuck, even though I did say Saul. But Larry David is a different kind of schmuck. I'd say a little more laser sharp-witted schmuck. So, it's a nice day. We got people walking outside, and the dog, you know, enjoys it. So, yes, I got Larry David. But I think some people might agree or disagree is that the show is better than Seinfeld. Larry David is all of the characters from Seinfeld put into one, and he put it together in Curb Your Enthusiasm, and it's a brilliantly written show, and I love it.
Great choice, RCW. I mean, yeah, Larry David's the best. And Paul, man, Mickey Donovan is great too. With my number 2, guys, I'm going with Tyrion Lannister. My favorite show, or probably one of my favorite shows ever in Game of Thrones, and my favorite character, Tyrion Lannister. Just a drunk who knew a lot of things, and that would be my number 2, fellas.
Yeah,
Okay.
I love them in Elf too.
Yes. Oh,
You can't go wrong with Peter Dinklage. I got to call you out, Jay Goobles. That was not on your list when we did the draft, but nice throw in there. Peter Dinklage is great. And, yeah, Larry David ties perfectly into my transition. If you noticed, I threw out the hint, driving around in John Boy's car, which is a Seinfeld reference. I can't believe no one called me out. I'm freaking dressed like Kramer. I'm in an old vintage bowling shirt and a sport coat. I got the portrait of oil painting of Kramer behind me. I had to take so many names off the list. I actually changed my list also a few times today. I took off Fred Sanford from Sanford and Son. I had Benedict Cumberbatch's version of Sherlock Holmes on my list. There was just so many more TV characters. We could just keep going. But, yeah, Kramer's in my number 1. And to throw back to Larry David, I mean, you can really see if you watch Curb Your Enthusiasm, Larry David is a little bit of all of them. A little bit of Jerry with the tennis shoes, the bald screw-up George, the crazy, wacky Kramer, the tall, lengthy, goofy dressed guy. I mean, he really is all his characters. You can see where he was a major contributor and writer of that show, Seinfeld. So, yeah, again, this was a tough list. I know people are going to comment about what we left off, but, hey, I did with what popped into my mind and what shows I watched most often.
Yeah, and, you know, Paul, Cosmo is another great name.
Yeah, Cosmo Kramer.
He never went by Cosmo.
No.
It was
That was a great
Kramer.
name. Yeah, he was Kramer. But
So,
yeah,
yep,
take it.
all right. I'm going with my number 1 right here, right behind me. Dennis Franz, a.k.a. Andy Sipowicz. The greatest police detective of all time on television. You know, it's a time where we could have a whole nother episode of shows on cable and on TV that you don't have to pay for, like Showtime and everything. Like, I just feel like TV has changed so much. And this was in the era of when TV shows were still awesome. And NYPD Blue was one of my favorites. Huge influence on me in my teens and early 20s. And Dennis Franz was all business. No joking, the exact opposite of my second pick. But Dennis Franz, he's my number 1. Andy
all right,
Sipowicz.
guys. Very iconic picks for both of you guys. And as you guys see, my number 1 is coming from a show which I feel is one of the most underrated shows of all time, Justified. And it's none other than Detective Raylan Gibbons. Just awesome. He's like the modern day Clint Eastwood. If you guys ever seen the show, just cool. Got the chicks, fastest gun. I mean, he's my number 1.
Yeah,
Jay Goobles,
epitome of cool.
Yeah, Jay Goobles, Raylan Gibbons was definitely on my list. I don't think he was a detective. I believe he was a U.S. Marshal. He was Marshal Gibbons.
That is
But
correct.
yeah, this guy made me want to transition to a cowboy like our friend. I wanted to get a Stetson and drink more bourbon because of this guy. I actually got into Blanton's bourbon because of watching an episode of Justified. I went out and found it when they were drinking with his boss a bottle of Blanton's. Man, Kentucky has great bourbon. Blanton's not only tastes great, they do these metal collectible horses on the stopper. Small batch. They even handwrite what barrel it came out of. It's just amazing. So, yeah, Raylan Gibbons, big influence.
Huge influence. Oh, yeah.
He definitely would have been on my list if you wouldn't have drafted him. So, and, yeah, RCW, Andy Sipowicz also would have been on my list. We still use terms when we're talking and joking that Sipowicz used in the show. So, I mean, just great. Again, we left off so many legends, but I think it's a good stopping point here. We're trying to bring it down for the fans in length, and I just want to sign off. Thanks, gentlemen. Peace out. You too.
Peace, you too.
Thank you. See ya.